Okay, so I'm going to talk about therapy, specifically three things. First, I'm going to talk about how to find a therapist. Two, I'm going to talk about what to look for in a therapist. And three, I'm going to share some of my experiences in therapy. Okay, when it comes to finding a therapist, I recommend going to two websites. One is ccp.co.nz and the other one is talkingworks.co.nz. When I found mine, I used TalkingWorks, and there's a whole list of them that's available in the relevant area. So you can check that out and have a read through their profiles and see which one sounds good to you. Okay, so when it comes to finding the right therapist for you, one of the things that has no correlation when it comes to effectiveness with therapists, or actually physiotherapists, personal trainers, doctors, is experience. So there's no correlation between experience and helping people, but there is a direct correlation with the relationship. So with the type of relationship, if you have a good relationship with your therapist, or if you connect really well and they understand you and have some context to understand your life experiences, then that is literally the biggest thing that helps when it comes to successful therapy. So when you look for a therapist, look for someone that you can connect with, and oftentimes therapists know this as well. So if you don't find a connection between a therapist, then you can just try to find another one, and they get it. They're like, yeah, cool, makes sense. So that's one thing that I would recommend. So when I started going to therapy, my experience, it was 2019, and I couldn't make sense of what I was going through. So basically, I felt this intense sense of loneliness, basically at all times, even if I was around my friends and family, which is not a good thing to feel, and it's confusing, extremely confusing. So when I first went, and after I gave the therapist the debrief of what I was going through and experiencing, one thing she did really well was, validate my experiences and help me understand that this is normal and this is how this sort of happens, and how different life experiences can contribute to this feeling that I'm experiencing, and that quite a few people experience the same thing too. And because it's such a weird feeling that isn't talked about, you think that other people don't feel it too. So that was super helpful. And then after that point, the other things that helped me were being able to reframe and contextualize my thoughts and my behaviors and my previous experiences in a way that helped me understand, but most importantly, helped me choose to make specific changes in my actions, my behaviors, and the way I thought about stuff. Because, there's no point in going through all that, telling a therapist everything, understanding the experiences, if there's no change at the end of it. So that was super effective, and the therapist held me accountable, or I held myself accountable with the therapist there for me. And the goal of a good therapist is to get you to a point where you don't need it anymore, even though you can keep going, or you can talk about other stuff. And on that note, you don't need something crazy happening in your life, something extremely terrible, a super negative experience. You can just go, if you just kind of make sense of the experience or your thoughts that might not be affecting you in a crazy way, but to help you before it gets worse potentially. So if that's something that you can afford to do, I would look into it. And if you want more information or want to know more about my personal experience, then feel free to message me, and I can go into a bit more depth into everything. But ultimately, I honestly, I think it's a no-brainer. I wish I went sooner. It was one of the most beneficial things I've done for my mental health, hands down. And I hope more people follow. Okay, let's talk about self-love. So I think self-love has been skewed a little bit in pop culture and popular self-help media, and in a way where if you want to embrace self-love, then you take the day off. You have a bubble bath, you treat yourself to some nice food that you wouldn't usually get, and just have a day for you. But if that's self-love, then you can't really do that on a regular basis. I think self-love needs to be practiced and embraced every single fucking day. Uh, I think self-love is more to do with doing things that confirm how much you respect yourself regularly, even when you fuck up, which happens all fucking time because we are human. So self-love is like, going to bed at like a reasonable hour, or having self-compassion when you screw up at something, but also having accountability on yourself to figure out what you can do to do better next time, and still understand that there's still a possibility of a fuck up the next time, and be okay with that. Anyway, self-love is getting better at saying no to things and people when you really don't want to do something. Self-love is embracing difficult conversations and conflict when they're impeding and making you stressed out. And new self-love is, um, looking after your body. And these things you can do every day. And it's not easy because it needs to be practiced, and you build the self-love muscle in a way over time. Um, and, you get to this point where, self-love becomes having, empathy and kindness for yourself and others unconditionally, because if you have true self-love, then there's no condition for you to want to embrace that. The condition is already met with you loving yourself based on the actions you do on a regular basis that confirm to you you already love yourself. And then when you go treat yourself to like a bath or whatever, a holiday, a vacation, that can be another form of self-love, but that's not the imperative. That's not the biggest, most important thing. So if we change our perception of self-love, I think we'll be better off every day, with improved self-esteem and an understanding of ourselves and others a lot more. That's it. I'm out. See you guys tomorrow.